Good afternoon to one and all. We, the team of Aussies Group, welcome you all to the Day 4 Conclave 2023. Today, we are going to discuss about the NSW latest updates on state and regional state nomination process. I welcome our migration presenter, Mr. Ali Ehsan, to take forward this session.
Thank you, Amya, for introducing me. Hi everyone. My name is Ali Ehsan. I am registered migration agent, and today I'll be discussing updates about NSW related to regional or state nomination process. So, first of all, I hope that everyone can see my screen now. Yeah, so basically today's session is the part of 𝐬𝐳𝐬's Migration and Education Conclave 2023. And in this session, I will discuss about New South Wales latest updates and state regional nomination process. Now, in today's session, we have my other colleagues will cover other states, including WA, Victoria, Queensland. You can keep, yourself if you are looking for those states, you can join those conclave sessions as well. This particular session will be about NSW. So to start with, so here are some of the services that we do provide. We have PT tutorials, IELTS tutorials, CCL tutorials, and Get My Policy. So you can download our apps and you can practice for PT or IELTS or CCL using those apps. And those will be really helpful in providing much needed information that you need to collect points. We have also introduced 𝐸𝐽 mobile application. So you can download it through Google Play or App Store. This application will tell you about your occupation, availability, as you can see on the screen. So I will highly recommend you to download these to get updated information throughout the year. So again, my name so anyone who has joined now, so I'm Ali Ehsan, I'm a registered migration agent, and here are my details. So let's get started. So today's discussion, as I said, it's about NSW updates for state or regional nomination process. Now, before I get into the state details or before I start explaining you what has been happening in NSW throughout the financial year, let me walk you through the basic skilled migration visas and which will at least give you an idea that what visas are we going to discuss. So under general skilled migration, there are three visa categories broadly. So skill independent visas, which is subclass 189. Now, subclass 189 is basically skill independent. You are nominated by federal government and you need minimum 65 points to lodge expression of interest. Now, then there is a skilled nomination visa, which is state sponsored visa. So over here you get sponsored by state, and I'll be discussing this visa from NSW perspective. Then there is skilled work regional provisional visa, which is subclass 491. Over here, there are two streams. So either you can go towards regional stream or 491 family sponsored stream. So I'll be discussing skilled work regional provisional visa 491 through NSW in today's meeting. Now, as you all know that for all and someone who doesn't know, so for skilled visa, you have to, so all the skilled visas are point test based. Now the points requirement is different for 189, 190 and 491. However, these are this is how the point system works. These are all the points that you can claim. So for example, if someone is there are points for age in Australian migration system. So if someone is aged between 18 to 24, they'll have 25 points. If someone is aged between 25 to 32, that's the maximum points that they can claim, which is 30. And then, points will start to reduce from 33 onwards. So from 33 to 39, it's 25 points. And then 40 to 45, it's 15 points. And that's the eligibility. So anyone above 45 cannot apply for any skilled visa, general skilled migration 189, 190, or 491. Now, for English, you can also get points. So if you have competent English, you will not get any points, but that makes you eligible to lodge expression of interest if you have other points. But if you want to claim points, so you need seven in each modules of IELTS or PT equivalent. That can give you 10 points. If you have superior English, which is 8 each in IELTS or equivalent in PT, that can give you 20 points. There are other other English exams which you may take, but these are the most prominent ones. Then work experience inside Australia. So it's so in Australia, it's one. So there is a slight error. So 1 year to 3 years gives you 5 points. 3 to 5 years gives you 10 points. 5 to 8 years gives you 15 points. And then rest is there. So I think that has been interchanged. So outside Australia experience, 3 to 5 year gives you 5 points. 5 to 8 year gives you 10 points, and 8 to 10 year gives you 15 points. Then your qualification. So your degree, PhD, if someone has done PhD, that can get 20 points. If someone has done bachelor's or master's, they can claim 15 points, and diploma and other trade qualifications will give you 10 points. If someone is studying in Australia for 2 years, they can claim extra 5 points. And if that study is taken while applicant was living in regional area, then you can, and campus was also in regional, they can claim extra 5 points as well. Now, there are some additional points that you can claim, which is NATI, so NATI CCL, that can give you 5 points. So NATI is basically interpreting exam where you have to interpret your main language into English and English into your main language. It has to be, it has to be done through NATI. Then certain occupations like IT, engineering, accounting, they can do professional year and can get 5 extra points from there. Now, state sponsorship, 190 visa gives you 5 points, and 491 regional sponsorship visa gives you 15 points. Now, these are the two visas that I'm going to discuss. Now, if you are single, you can claim 10 points. If you have a spouse who has skills assessment as well as English, they can give you 10 points. Now, the English requirement is competent English. Now, if they do not have a skills assessment or their occupation is not in the list, they can still give you at least 5 points with competent English. If you are single, you can claim full 10 points. So this is snapshot of few points. And then there are other points. If you have completed a STEM qualification, which is a research degree or a PhD, you may be able to claim 10 additional points from there as well. So this is how you gather all the points that are required for state sponsorship or regional sponsorship or even skill independent visa. So I hope everyone is clear on that. Now, here is the New South Wales map. So now you can see that NSW is divided into regions. So NSW is a state where there are different regional areas, including Sydney, Illawarra, Southern Inland, then on north side, mid-north coast, northern rivers, Hunter, Orana, so and others. So these are all the regional areas within NSW. So when we are talking about 491 regional visa, so we are talking about all of these regions, and I'll come to that part later on. So starting with key steps. So first step in NSW is, of course, you have to apply for NSW nomination, you have to meet minimum eligibility criteria of NSW government. Now, there are two types of criteria. One is minimum criteria from Department of Home Affairs, which means you should have at least 60 points of your own for 190 and 50 for subclass 491. Then there is an age requirement, and then you must have competent English at least to qualify. And then your occupation has to be in the relevant list. Now, in addition to those basic criteria, each state or territory can have their own requirements. Now, NSW has published its own requirements in addition to those basic requirements. Now, the process is to first, of course, you have to make sure that you lodge expression of interest for the relevant subclass, and all the information in that EOI is correct. Okay. Now, if you are invited by NSW on the basis where the information is incorrect, you cannot apply for nomination. Then you have to be invited to apply for from NSW for invitation rounds for subclass 190 and 491. There is one stream in which you need to get invited. I'll discuss that in detail. Now, NSW does not issue invites outside of those invitation rounds. Now, there are no select dates when invitation rounds take place for 190 or 491. So NSW does that regularly throughout the financial year. Now, because we are entering end of financial year right now, so I don't expect any round in one day. But then, of course, new financial year will start from 1st of July, and we will see NSW will start inviting applicants after that. Now, if you are invited by NSW to lodge nomination through directly by NSW, they give you 14 days to apply. This is specifically for subclass 190, or if you are getting invite for 491 under pathway 2. Then you have to provide evidence of all your points that you have claimed in skill select, and you have to prove that you were residing in NSW or overseas for required period. Now that this required period is different for subclass 190 and 491, which I will discuss in detail later on. Now, specifically talking about NSW subclass 190 eligibility, now you need to have minimum 65 points, including 5 points from state. You must be under 45 years of age. You need to have at least competent English, which is 6 each in IELTS or equivalent. And you must be resident of NSW for past 6 months, or you must be living overseas for 6 months. Now this has to be continuous. Okay, so this is a very what rigid criteria from NSW, and they strictly follow this. So someone who was living in NSW and then they moved to another state, or then they moved overseas for a few months, they are not eligible for this unless and until they meet either 6 months of NSW residence requirement again, or must complete living 6 months overseas. Now, the reason I've written overseas here is because sometimes people do get confused with offshore. They consider that living in other state might be considered offshore. So that's not correct. So you have to be, if you are in Australia, you must be living in NSW. If you are not in Australia, then you can qualify under overseas stream. If you are living in another state, you do not qualify for NSW skilled migration program. Now, the occupation list. So NSW, as per NSW, they changed this in this financial year. So at this time, they have 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐶 unit group rather than having individual occupations. And we have seen that many of the clients, they got confused with this occupation list. Okay. Now, how it works is basically, so the unit group is first four digits of your occupation code. Okay. Now, if your unit group is there, for example, accountant. So accountant is one group. However, there are 3 occupations which are in the same group. So accountant general, management accountant, taxation accountant. So if you see accountant there as a unit group in the list, it means management accountant and taxation accountant is also on the list. Now, we have seen a lot of cases where applicant's occupation was on the list, but just because the name didn't, the name of unit group didn't match, they were under impression that occupation is not in the list. So if the group is there, your occupation is there, you can submit expression of interest and you can be invited. Now, the only part is there might be few occupations under a unit group which are not in any list of 189, 190, 491 visa. So those occupations are not eligible. Okay. So this is the minimum eligibility criteria. Now, NSW occupation list. So we have currently we have occupation list for current financial year, which is actually ending tomorrow, and for new financial year. So generally, NSW does update their they do update their occupation list each start of financial year. So we do not have that updated list yet or updated requirement. So everything that I'm discussing right now is till date, and it's still, for this financial year. But there can be few changes in coming financial year in the occupation list as well. Especially if we see when this financial year 2022-2023 started, initially NSW added work experience requirements to many IT, trade, even nurses, engineering occupations. And later on, somewhere in December, NSW removed all those conditions. Okay. So these things can keep on happening. So you have to just make sure that you stay focused, you focus on right things, and you keep in touch with us so we can update you about upcoming changes. But for the financial year, which is ending now, so which is still current financial year, now that included or includes many occupations. There were many IT related occupations, almost all in the list. Accounting, auditing occupations are in the list. Engineering occupations are in high demand and they are in the list. Trade, including chef, cook, then bricklayers, carpenters, motor mechanics, all of these occupations related to trade are in the list. Marketing specialist, market research analyst, sales and marketing managers, these occupations are also in the list as well. Nurses, of course, we have seen, these occupations in the list anyways. Medical practitioners, they were in high demand in this financial year. Farmers, occupations related to hospitality, such as hotel manager, motel manager, and then restaurant or cafe managers. These were in the list as well. Social workers, including community workers and teaching related occupations such as early childhood teachers, secondary school teachers. So these all these occupations are part of the list, and there are many other occupations which are part of the list. Now, looking into this, we can definitely say that if you are skilled person in any of these fields, you have good chances of getting invitation from NSW. However, NSW, although they do not have any minimum work experience or points requirement, they still rank applicants on the basis of points, okay, which I'll discuss on the latest slides. So looking into the occupation list, it's a vast occupation list, and this occupation list significantly got changed in December when soon after, that was when NSW removed work experience requirement, NSW removed minimum points requirement with all these occupations. Now, how does NSW invite applicants? So we have seen the basic eligibility criteria. We have seen what are the what are the occupations which are on the list. So how does subclass 190 process work? So you first have to lodge EOI and you claim points based on the points that I discussed in earlier slide. After that, you have to wait for pre-invite from or invitation to lodge nomination from NSW. Now, when lodging EOI, you have to make sure that you submit EOI only for NSW 190. If you are including multiple states, NSW might not invite you, or even if you are choosing multiple subclasses, NSW might not invite you. Then once you receive pre-invitation, and then you have to submit a nomination application for which generally 14 days are provided. So you prepare nomination application and you submit documents to NSW, including your residence proof. Once NSW approves your nomination application, you lodge a visa application. Now, if you are in Australia, this is the stage where you will be issued a bridging visa once you have submitted a valid visa application. So nomination application is not an application for visa. So again, a lot of people do get confused because so it's a two-stage process. First, you have to apply to NSW. Once they approve it, then you lodge visa. And once you lodge visa, then you can get a bridging visa if you are in Australia. Now, Invitation round. So as I was discussing earlier, so NSW, although minimum requirement is that you need minimum 65 points to lodge expression of interest. However, invitation rounds can depends on many factors, and EOIs are ranked on the basis of following. So your occupation. So if your occupation is critical, such as nurse, teachers, social workers, we have seen that department has given them NSW has given them preference, and they were invited at lowest points, including many trade occupations. Second thing that NSW looks into is your point score. So if there are two applicants, both are at same points and same occupation, then they will look into English language proficiency and years of skilled work experience in your nominated or closely related occupation. Now, the trend that we have seen in NSW is, for example, for IT, many of the IT occupations received invitation at 80 to 85 points. Then we have seen for accounting related occupations, there were invitations in this financial year, and we have seen invitation with 100 points for accounting occupations. However, there were few cases where external auditors, which is also an accounting related occupation, it received invitation even at 80, 85 points. So that shows that NSW is inviting applicants across all the occupations. Now, you have to keep this in mind. If your occupation is critical, then you can be invited even at lower points. Or sometimes, there can be applicant and you believe that, okay, your occupation is not critical. Let's say it's not health or teaching or social work, and you have 65 points, but you do not submit your expression of interest, assuming that you will not be invited. So that's not a right approach, because if you're eligible, doesn't matter which occupation you have, you must submit your EOI so you can at least be considered. We have seen many cases in last financial years where applicants were invited at minimum points and their occupations were not even critical or not health or health related or social working related. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. Now, invitation rounds, as I mentioned, will be ongoing. So sometimes NSW conducts 2 invitation rounds in a month. Sometimes they don't conduct any invitation round in a month. That changes throughout the financial year. So so now coming towards skilled regional visa, which is subclass 491. So as mentioned earlier, this is a regional visa, which is where you get sponsorship from state. Now, family sponsored is different subclass. I'm not going to go into detail of that. I'm talking about subclass 491, skilled regional provisional visa, and we are discussing requirements for NSW. Now, this is a provisional visa. It can be converted to PR if you meet conditions. Now, again, this is a very common question that get asked is, are you required to meet these conditions before the visa grant or after the visa grant? So the answer is you have to meet these conditions after your visa is granted. Now that is after state regional has nominated you, you've submitted visa application and your visa application gets approved. That's when you are required to move to regional area. You have to live there for at least 3 years, and you have to work there, and you must have at least 3 tax assessment notices, and then you can lodge. After that, you can lodge 191, which is a permanent visa. Now, there was a change in this. So department recently announced that there won't be any income requirement when you are lodging 191. So previously, there was confusion that, the income requirement will be 53,900 per year. But then department has clearly mentioned that there is no income requirement while lodging 191. You only need to provide proof that you have resided in regional for 3 years. So you have to prove you have to live in regional for 3 years, and you have to provide 3 tax assessment notices. So this 3-year residence has to be as a holder of 491. Now, NSW eligibility. So the minimum points that are required for this subclass is 65. So you get 15 points from regional. Okay. Then age requirement is still the same, like all skilled visas, which is 45 years. English, you need to have at least competent English. But of course, if you have better English, you can have better score. Your residence, you must be living in NSW or overseas for past 3 months, unless you are applying under Stream A. No, Stream A, I'm going to discuss that in detail. But Stream A require you to live and work in region for 12 months. But there are other streams which do not require you the same. So you must be living for in NSW for at least past 3 months. Now, this does not have to be regional residence. It can be anywhere in NSW. But again, either NSW or overseas, not in other states. Occupation. So NSW has different occupation lists for different pathways. Now, for Stream A, however, there is no such skill list from NSW government, and they follow skill list from Department of Home Affairs, which is applicable for subclass 491 visa, which includes many occupations. However, if you are applying under Stream B or pathway 2, then your occupation has to be in the list, which we are going to discuss. So currently there are two pathways that NSW has for subclass 491, pathway 1 and pathway 2. Now, this may be confusing for many of you because I have seen many of my clients asking these questions. So I'll make it clear. So NSW has two different pathways, 1 and 2. No, pathway 1 has two streams, Stream A and Stream B, while pathway 2 does not have any other stream, it's just pathway 2. So we have three options, pathway 1, Stream A, pathway 1, Stream B, and pathway 2. Okay. Now, Stream A is for established, for someone who has established work history with a regional NSW-based employer. Now, if you are meeting this requirement, you directly lodge nomination application to the RDA. Okay. Now, RDAs are regional bodies which which accepts your 491 or which can nominate you for 491. Now, the requirements are you must be currently living and working in designated regional area of NSW for past 12 months. Okay. Now, this is the main thing, that you have to be living and working for past 12 months, and your job has to be in your nominated occupation or closely related occupation. It should be with same regional NSW based employer. It has to be deemed skilled by NSW, so they have to it has to match it should match to your nominated occupation. You must be paid TSMIT salary level of 53,900, and your occupation must be eligible for the visa. So which means there is no separate list from NSW for 491 under Stream A. If your occupation is eligible for the subclass 491 visa, you can apply under Stream A if you have met all the requirements. Now, this is, of course, after living and working in NSW for 12 months. Now, we have not seen any exception to this rule in this financial year. So then pathway 1, Stream B. Now, pathway 1, Stream B is where your skills are required in regional NSW. Again, over here, you apply directly to RDA. So over here, you are not invited to apply. So if you are eligible, you submit nomination application directly to RDA. Now, this pathway has been very common throughout throughout second half of financial year. We have seen many invites being issued to onshore as well as offshore applicants, even at minimum 50 points. Okay. Now, for this to qualify under Stream B, your occupation group has to be on the list, and you must be eligible for the visa, and you must be residing in NSW for 3 months, or if you are overseas, you must be residing overseas for 3 months. So it includes NSW or overseas, both. Now, for this visa, there is a separate skill list. Now, in that skill list, occupations are some of the prominent occupations were engineering, trades, technicians, including electrical technicians, civil engineering technicians, health, farming, community services, such as community worker, disability support workers, etc., teachers. So I believe winner for this pathway one stream B were mostly engineers because or few IT occupations, such as IT, ICT project manager is in the list. So we have seen many applicants getting invited through engineering profile, whether from overseas or in Australia at minimum 50 points. Now, this was a very good opportunity, and if it stays the same in next financial year, this will be one very good pathway for all the applicants who are considering applying for 491, because points requirement were lesser and it was direct application. So it's not that you lodge EOI and then wait for NSW to pick you up, which can take months. Over here, if your occupation is on the list, you submit nomination application to RDA and you can be invited within 4 to 6 weeks. The last pathway for NSW is pathway 2. Now, this pathway does not have any other stream, so it's just pathway 2. Now, pathway 2 is that you must be invited to apply by investment NSW. Now, unlike other pathway 1, it's not direct pathway. It's not where you can submit direct nomination application to NSW. So the process is that you have to lodge expression of interest for 491. You have to wait for to receive pre-invitation from NSW. And if they issue you invitation, then you submit nomination application and visa application, of course, after that. Now, for this, again, there is a separate occupation list. So it's different to 190 list. It's different to stream B list. So you have to make sure that you check if your occupation falls under that as well. Again, NSW has used same unit group in this occupation list as well. Now, some of the common occupations that were invited and that are currently on the list are IT. Many IT occupations are there. External auditors, very good occupation considering 491 pathway to engineering, again, trade, almost many trade occupations are there. Marketing occupations are there. Nurses, medical practitioners, hospitality, social workers, teachers. So all of these occupations are available under pathway 2. Now, yes, how NSW will decide that if you will get you will be invited or not, that will be based on same criteria, that they will look into your occupation, your points, and then they will look into your skilled employment. Now, for pathway 2 as well, you must be living in NSW for 3 months or overseas for 3 months. There is no requirement for pathway 2 that you have to live in regional area of NSW before you lodge nomination for a number of months. So if you are living in Sydney, for example, you can still be invited under pathway 2. If you are living in Sydney, you can still be invited under pathway 1, stream B. If you are living in Sydney, you cannot be invited under pathway 1, stream A. Okay, so these are all the requirements in for NSW 190, 491. Now, before I end, so I just want to give you a recap of what we have seen in this financial year, which is coming to an end. So we have seen that NSW was the requirements of NSW were very strict initial at the start of financial year, and then as we moved on, they changed their requirements. They added few occupations. Yes, few occupations were removed from the list as well, but many occupations were added, and such as mechanical engineers, they were not in the list initially, but then NSW did include them later on. Okay, now then after December, we saw significant change from NSW, where they started inviting applicants in different occupations. They removed experience requirement, they removed minimum points requirement, and then we saw many invitations for all occupations across all spectrums. We saw many invites for those. And later on, we also saw that NSW has invited many applicants for 491, especially engineers and IT and even auditors. So even if you are from other occupations were of course invited, such as trades and medical practitioners and social workers. But if you are from IT, engineering, accounting related background, it you were not receiving invitations earlier, but we saw in last 6 months specifically that NSW has issued significant number of invitations to these occupations. Now, NSW had almost has almost invited 15,000 applicants in this financial year. Now, 15,000 applicants for subclass 190 and 491 combined. 190, they have invited applicants around 9,100, and for 491, till 31st of May, they had invited 5,854 applicants just for subclass 491. Now, that shows that NSW has NSW gets significant quota of the skilled migration program. And for coming financial year, we there are same number of seats available for skilled migration visas, 189, 190, and 491. Yes, we are still waiting for state allocation to be updated, but looking into next year numbers, I expect that immigration program will be really good in next financial year as well. So if you are someone who hasn't done your skills assessment or has not started the process yet, you can initiate your skills assessment process, get your points, and be ready for coming financial year. Now, uh, another myth which most of clients they do believe is that if they are on a student visa, they cannot apply for 190 or 181, 491 or these visas. There is no truth in that. Even if you're on a student visa, you have skills, you meet minimum eligibility criteria for the visa, you can be nominated for skilled whether 189, 190 or 491. So that's all from my side. Now I will take your questions. So you can type your questions in the chat box and I'll answer them one by one. So Shweta, work from home, there is no such guidelines from NSW government that what needs to be there in work from home criteria. But look, if you are living in NSW and so you have minimum points, you are eligible for 491. So let's say you are working for an employer based in so other than stream A, pathway 1, you can do that. There is no issue. But if you're applying under stream A, pathway 1 for subclass so for subclass 491, stream 1, stream A, pathway 1, then your employer must be based in regional NSW. In that case, the requirement is different. So Faisal has asked that if I was on a holiday for 2 months, came back on 15th March, 6 months will start from 15th March. I'm resident of NSW for last 5 years. Now, Faisal, so in these cases, what we have seen is NSW has taken a different approach when it comes to they have considered this on case to case basis. So there were cases where applicants lived overseas for 2 months and their applications were approved. But then there have been many cases where applications were declined as well. Now, that depends on the reason of travel, for how long did you travel, and why. So where did you travel? That all is important. Okay, so I believe then what are the chances ICT security at 95? So look, ICT security with 95 points, if you're talking about subclass 190, I believe you'll have good chances. And because NSW did invite applicants with similar profile, I will also advise you to get other skills assessments, have multiple skills assessment, and be in the queue with other occupations as well. Okay, so he has also asked that, do you have to lodge new UI every time you update your point? So answer is no. You do not have to lodge EUIs again and again. If you have existing EUI, it's still valid, you can use that. So Reena has asked that regional areas, will Wollongong also fall under regional area of NSW subclass 491? Yes, Reena. So Wollongong also falls under that. So I discussed that in one of my slide where there is a map which shows which are the regional areas. So basically, other than Sydney, or everything else in NSW is regional area, including Wollongong, Central Coast, Blue Mountains, even Windsor, Richmond, and then Blue Mountains. So they are all regional areas. So previously they were not considered regional areas, but then currently they are part of 491 program, and they are regional areas as per the definition of NSW as well as Home Affairs. Yeah, so Reena, you can do your skills assessment from offshore. It's all good. And then you can apply 491 onshore. We just have to make sure that you meet other requirements such as residence in NSW or overseas. If you're eligible, yes, you can apply. Okay, so Portia, no, so it's not that 491 sponsorship is family sponsorship is complicated route. It's just that my topic is NSW state or regional nomination requirements. 491 family sponsored stream does not come under state. Okay, so it's directly given by federal government. Now, simple requirement is that if you have a family member, your cousin or your brother, your blood relative who is living in regional Australia and they are usual resident of regional Australia. Now, you have minimum 50 points of your own and 15 you'll get from your family, and your occupation is in the long-term list, you can submit EOI for 491 under family sponsored stream as well. Now, you are not, there is no requirement for you to be residing in regional area to apply for that, and state does not invite you. Federal government gives you invitation for that, and that invitation round happens with 189 visa invitation rounds. So that's the reason I didn't discuss it, because it's a bit different. So, Rohit, botanist, look, if your occupation is on the list, then 65 points are good. So let's say if it is on stream B list, of course, I'll have to check. But if it is on the stream B list, you can directly apply. If it is not on the stream B list, then you lodge UI and you wait for invitation round. Now, what we have seen is NSW has given comparatively less invitations for pathway 2. So I will recommend you to, either increase your points because pathway 2 is competitive. So Sranjana has asked that how long does the whole PR process takes after finishing a medicine degree? If is it different if you are applying under nursing or so? See, Sujana, it depends on case-to-case basis. So once you complete your qualification, you have to get your skills assessment. Now, skills assessment is where, depending on your degree, you'll have, in your case, you'll have to get, if you're doing medicine, so you'll have to get registration through AFRA, which will show that, or Medical Board of Australia, MEDBA. Okay, so that registration, if it's full registration, you'll use it as skills assessment, and then you will lodge expression of interest. Now, for medical practitioners or for health related occupations, we have seen processes really fast. So if you are meeting the requirement, you lodge, you lodge your expression of interest. I believe you can be invited within 1 to 2 months, and even visa processing is really quick for health occupations, which can further take maybe 2 to 3 months. But this is estimate time, and just because your occupation is in critical list, the chances are higher that you can be invited sooner. So your skill, Vandana, you have asked that your skills assessment has given you 4.5 years of work experience, but you have 5.5 years. Now your EOI is considering 5.5 years. Will NSW consider, is this wrong information? Okay. So see, from NSW's perspective, they do not count such work experience because of that 1 year experience, which was deducted. I believe you would have got assessment through VETSS. So that 1 year does not count towards points. Okay. Now, rule is different for 189. However, 190 NSW, they do not, as per them, you cannot claim points for that 1 year. So actually, you are overclaiming your points from NSW perspective, and you should remove those points. Raj, for 189 or 190 visa, for 189 specifically, it's a skill independent visa. You can do skills assessment just on the basis of professional year program. Okay. Now, you do not need job for that. However, for 190 visa, Queensland has additional requirements. And one of that is that you must be employed in your nominated occupation. Okay. So if you just do PY, you might not be eligible for 190 or 491 in Queensland. We have a session for Queensland upcoming this evening. So do join that. Our experts from Queensland will share all the information related to Queensland nomination criteria. So, Dharmendra, what we have seen is with technician occupations like yours, we have seen that applicants did receive invitation with 70, 75 points. But of course, I'm not talking about exact occupation as this one, but relevant occupations. We have seen invitations at lower points. However, it depends on which stream are we targeting, which pathway we are targeting. So if your occupation is again in stream B, then applying directly is a good idea rather than waiting under pathway 2. So Arena, for the time frame for the visa is almost same. That does not change where you are physically located. Yes, we have seen sometimes in the sometimes department started granting more visas to they gave more invitations to offshore, and process for offshore was quicker. And then we have seen where process for onshore was quicker, but overall it is almost the same. So Karan, regarding family relative, so Karan has asked that for family 491 sponsorship under family sponsored stream, relative member who live in regional Australia will be required to have a specific visa like 491, or they have to, so they must be Australian permanent resident or citizen to sponsor you. So if they are on 491 or any other visa, they cannot sponsor you. Which region is best for electrical engineers in NSW? So, Ihtisham, it's right now, it's so this financial year especially, it was not about region. So, for example, if electrical engineer occupation was open in stream B, and if it is open, you can apply to any region where seats are there. Okay. So, for example, Central Coast was open, Hunter was open, Illawarra was open, all were open initially. So, whenever your region is open, the one that you want to target, and you have assessment, you can apply. So now they are not assessing, now regionals, different RDAs do not have their separate list. They are following same list which is published by NSW government. So someone has asked that it has been 5 months and still waiting for visa grant, 190 from NSW. Any idea how much is it going to take? So if you're talking about visa grant, look, so visa grant is not linked to state. It's from federal government. Now, what we have seen with our cases is that it's, and from our experience, that it might take few more months because there are many applications in the processing. So, and you can always look into global processing times published on Department of Home Affairs website. That will give you a clear idea of current processing times for the visa. No, it's not in NSW's control as of now. So doesn't matter which state are you being nominated from, processing time remains the same when it comes to visa grant. So Vandhana, 186 is a permanent visa. So yes, they can, if they are usual resident of regional area. Okay. So I believe I've answered all the questions which were posted here. Yes. So Rahul has asked that if you are offshore candidate and mechanical engineering technician, 70 points for 190 and 80 points for 491 without spouse points. What is the chances of sponsorship in NSW? Which one I choose for 190 or 491 and or other states? And which other state will suitable for me for sponsorship? So Rahul, look, of course, my first recommendation to you will be my first recommendation to you will be to attend all the sessions so you know about all the states. Now, because you're offshore, you can definitely apply to NSW 491 and 190 both at same time. You can have both EOIs launched. Now, at the same time, because you're offshore, you can target other states as well. And my recommendation to you will be to have your EOI in the queue for all other states where you are eligible. And as an offshore candidate, you will be eligible in other states as well. So, Sanjana, for teaching, and so she has asked that for teach. So look, the time frame that I've mentioned, it's just roughly, based on different things. But yes, we have seen people actually getting visa grants and invites within 3 to 5 months as well. But depending on your case, it can take longer as well. Now, teachers, for example, early childhood teachers, we have seen again their visas were fast tracked, and department gave them visas much sooner as compared to other applicants such as IT or engineering or other non-critical sectors. Okay. So anyone has any final question to ask, because our time is coming up, and also please do not, so do not forget to leave a review for us, because on the on the pages, and we will appreciate if you can give us any feedback related to today's session and upcoming session. Also, everyone who is joined. So we are having sessions for all other states in coming hours. So do join those sessions, and you will get much more valuable information related to all the states and regions, so you can make informed decision where your profile fits the most. Okay. I'll just take one last question before I finish. So you've mentioned that you've already submitted EOI for 5 months, but you didn't get nomination. So Dharmendra, what was your occupation? I'll have to go up and check. Yeah, so electrical engineering technician. So see, if you've already submitted your EOI and you have not been invited, my advice will be to consider alternative visa options as well, including employer sponsored visa or 408 COVID visa, which is still available, or a student visa. Meanwhile, you should also try to increase your points, because pathway 2 depends on points as well. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining. It was, and thank you for asking questions so other people know what's going on. And yeah, so whenever there are updates, keep following us. We'll keep you posted, and do join other sessions so you get all the relevant information about other states. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ali, sir, and all the participants over here. You can be updated with our sessions in the chat given below. You can refer to our links, whichever been mentioned, and stay updated with Aussie's group. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.